I'm just gonna read straight from the slide.
Okay, so for our religion, we were assigned voodoo, and the presenters are Paige, Emma, Toby, Santos, and Xavier. However, Xavier did not make it to record with us, so he's either going to send in his own submission or we're going to try to merge it, but I'm not sure if that will happen.
Okay, first we have demographics. There's 60 million voodoo followers around the world. That's only 0.75% of the world's population. So it's not very followed, but it's definitely still a prominent religion. It's practiced in Haiti, New Orleans, Brazil, Cuba, Louisiana, Benin, Togo, Nigeria, and the Dominican Republic. And then I made a list of the countries with the most people who follow voodoo. So there's 30 million people who practice voodoo in West Africa, which is the most, and then 14 million followers in Nigeria, 4 million followers in Benin, 2.5 million followers in Togo. There's 50% of the Haiti's population is considered to practice voodoo. Haiti's population is around 12 million, so most of Haiti's population practices voodoo.
We have the history of voodoo. Voodoo is one of the oldest religions that's still practiced today. There was no founder of voodoo. It was never led by someone. The foundation is based off a tribal religion that was brought back by slaves in West Africa. Voodoo began in West Africa and it was grown and practiced in the Caribbean and America. This on the right is a drawing from the old days where they would practice, but we didn't have cameras back in the day, so they would take drawings and draw the things that are going on around them. On the map on the left represents the slave trade. In West Africa, slaves were forced to adopt to Catholicism from European colonists to help disguise the voodoo spirits that they believed were Catholic sent people. They had to hide what their true religion was because of the slave trade. Around 15 million people were transported away from Africa all around the world, and this helped show how voodoo spread around the world. We decided to go by the century to show the history. So we start with the pre-15th century, where it was rooted in West Africa and was the practices and beliefs that were brought to America through slave trade. In the 15th and 18th centuries, during the slave trade, Africans brought their religion practices to the Caribbean, and voodoo blended in with Christianity and the indigenous Caribbean religions and African spiritual beliefs. In the late 18th century, voodoo became established, and this became among the enslaved. On the right is a picture of people celebrating in Benin because voodoo. The 19th century, a central aspect of cultural religious life in Louisiana, New Orleans. This right here on the right is a picture of a shop that you would buy things at when you went to New Orleans, and you can get like little gift items. In the early mid the 20th century, immigration grew, and this helped spread voodoo, and because it blended in with cultural influences, and it also faced many stereotyping aspects. In the 20th century to the present, voodoo is recognized as a religion and is practiced all over the world.
For beliefs and concepts, I found that basic beliefs are from Bandai and Lo. Bandai is the highest principle in the universe, the creator god, and he was referred to as the supreme deity. He is a remote figure in voodoo history, and he is also viewed as the good god. He created humanity in his own image out of clay and water. And Lo are supernatural beings. They're not more gods, they're more spirits that people go to for help, and they serve as mediators between humanity and God. The relationship between humans and Lo are that believers provide food and other items that appeal to Lo in exchange for assistance. And to invoke spirits of the dead, ceremonies are involved, and these can be dancing ceremonies, singing ceremonies, or just like rituals that have been done for many years. And then to connect with the afterlife, they go through GD spirits. And a GD spirit that I found was Baron Samedi. On the left is a picture of Bondi, who is a Hayatan voodoo god. And then on the right is one Lo. And the Lo offer help, protection, and counsel to humans in return for their ritual services. And then also in beliefs and concepts, I found that they believe in ancestor worships and connections. They do this through synchronism, which is the blending of African religious traditions with Catholicism. They also believe in animal sacrifices and vivis, and the vivis are symbols made of cornmeal or powder. I do have a picture in the middle of a lot of different vivis that I found. And then they also believe in the sacred, that is often associated with a pantheon of spirits, deities, and ancestral beings. In voodoo, they believe that everything happens for a reason. They believe this because they believe in no such thing as accidents, and they believe that one's destiny and path is determined by spirits and ancestors. When researching voodoo, I found that the problem is involving improving human life, and the solution is worship spirits for better fortune. And to do this, they have offerings, praise, and possessions.
So for the sacred text in voodoo, I found that there's no central sacred text. There's definitely probably text like that's going through like families, but I didn't find any central sacred text. What I did find is that it is an oral tradition that's passed down through families. The beliefs and concepts are also passed down through generations of families. And that got to where it is because of the history. As we said before, it merges Roman Catholicism and Native African beliefs. And then since it is merged between the two, it may be believed that they get some ideas and beliefs from the Bible.
Voodoo practice goes back 6,000 years and it originated in West Africa. The religion was brought to America by slaves during the slave trade, and voodoo is blended with Christianity. The practices include readings, prayers, spiritual baths, and personal ceremonies. There is no main practice since voodoo is diverse and syncretic. Divination practices are used to seek guidance from Lao. Shells or bones are used to gain insight for the future, decisions, or spiritual matters. The location of the practice is in Armstrong Park. Congo Square serves as the place to gather for the enslaved Africans. Reserved for traditions and expression of voodoo culture, hundreds gather for drum circles and spiritual ceremonies to this day. On the left, Marie Laveau is performing voodoo rites.
I decided to also go over voodoo myths because I feel like there's a lot of misunderstanding, especially the way it's portrayed by Hollywood. I don't know if anyone has seen The Apprentice and the Frog, but voodoo is definitely represented looking like dark magic and voodoo dolls, and overall I think there's just a lot of misunderstanding. As I said, voodoo dolls are not witchcraft, and they're used to represent Loas. They're not dolls of enemies used to hurt them. I feel like it's been portrayed in a lot of movies that voodoo dolls are of our enemies and we poke them with things and hurt them, which is not true. And then they also don't believe in human sacrifice. Human sacrifice is not in their means at all. It goes against their moral beliefs, and they do not believe in harming others. And then here we just have some pictures of voodoo dolls. Again, these are to represent Loas, and they're not dolls of our enemies. And then also here are citations. And we used a variety of different sources to come up with this information.